we're talking about cost discipline and burn rates and metrics. Building an AI company, depending what layer of the stack you're at, can be very expensive. Is there upside left in generative AI at any level, given the proliferation of startups we've seen? Where do you see opportunity there?
Absolutely yes, although it's become more and more challenging to navigate which areas are going to be the pool of Me Too's that are going to compete with each other, only to be then replaced by a more powerful next generation LLM. So there's a few options there. One is to go to niche areas within the enterprise that are sometimes a little bit uglier and harder to deal with. Sometimes workflows that are hard, like accounting, compliance, those areas that are less able to cope with mistakes and hallucinations of general LLMs. That's one thing. The other one is vertical SaaS, by the sheer fact that you have to have expertise in some other area, not just wrap some ideas around chat.
The domain expertise difference is really key for AI. The AI practitioner, being an expert at leveraging the LLM and whatnot, I mean, that's becoming very commoditized very quickly. So every college student, studying computer science is going to be just as good of an LLM sort of user as anybody else, right? So there's no real uniqueness in how you can prosecute the IP better. There is uniqueness in how you process the data better. So understanding what is the good quality of output versus bad quality. So having that judgment, and that's always going to be a sort of an expert human. So finding that expert human around the domain, I think is really the key that we look for, especially around like vertical SaaS. It's really that vertical domain knowledge of knowing what the pains the buyers care about are precisely.
Generative AI is something we're going to just leave to Silicon Valley to figure out. I think the amount of talent there and the capital available, something we in Southeast Asia, India can never replicate. Now, what we can do is build vertical SaaS solutions that sit up on top of Gen AI solutions that are built elsewhere. So, for example, solutions for construction, solutions for landscaping, for security, building security, or for car dealerships. These are very, very niche industries that require specialized solutions. The workflows can be built in India or in Southeast Asia, but they sit on top of generative AI solutions that already exist and are built in Silicon Valley or Israel or China, wherever.
I feel like that domain expertise becomes more and more valuable as AI coding tools, co-pilots, all that other stuff makes the overhead to starting a company go down. Do you see that as a tailwind in the next year?
Absolutely. So in the last couple of quarters, I've noticed maybe 3 or 4 of our companies that I work with, suddenly I start asking them, I see the roadmap, both of what they did and what they're planning to do. And at some point, we VCs, we tend to go at the boundaries, right? Where something is out of the norm, we're trying to understand why. And I'm asking the founder, tried to do too much, So they say 2 things. Number one is they say the tools out there, they keep on they help us do much, much more, okay? And those are not big teams. The second thing is, and this is not always a good thing, is that the customer is beginning to expect so much more from the product. So the customer begins to come up with questions. Why don't we do that and the other? Sometimes those are good ideas. So absolutely we see the big momentum of being able to develop more with less, which is a big benefit to a startup that can move fast and iterate on the product.
The danger of the challenge of AI development right now is that it's great to get an aha moment, an insight, or that was magical, and it's sort of like watching your dog jump, and splash, water, and that was a cute thing. Like, let's make it do it again, and then you're like, well, it's not doing it again, right? So you have that moment, and then you're trying to reproduce the moment, sort of reliably and consistently. And it turns out with AI, that's becoming really hard. And so consumers' expectations of reliability and trust and any solution that you design for them tends to be like in a 95th percentile or more, right? If your telco service, it's like 99%, right, or more, unless you own an iPhone. And then if you're looking at like enterprise, you can say, well, maybe enterprise is okay, 85%, but someone still then has to QA what the AI is doing for them. And so there has to be sort of a human element or human in the loop. And so that's where we see these companies now packaging that value behind the human, as opposed to trying to package it as a product and serve it directly to the customer.
Yeah, what we're seeing is an interesting trend here is the human in the loop element. So AI solutions are not 100% accurate, and you may get an AI solution make it 95% of the way, but that remaining 5% still needs to be done by humans. So while there may be a lot of software applications being built sitting on top of AI, they still need human beings at the other end to maybe do a final look at the output or final tweak to the output, look at the data. And that's where Indian companies are getting an advantage. So there is that human in the loop that is allowing a lot of companies to get created in India.